long time. Sorry, it's just Dawn Neeson's got the squeaky stool. I can hear her before you can see her. Morning, Dawn. Good morning.
Welcome
Isabel.
back.
Thanks for that. We haven't had you on Papers for a while.
Oh, I
Lovely
know.
to see you
Because
again.
I'm in a squeak, obviously.
It's the chair, not me, obviously. Well, welcome to you. Welcome to you, David Wooding, as well. Where should we start, Eamonn? Where do you fancy
We
going?
go to the Daily Mail, front page of the Daily Mail. And David, this is with you. Burglary, the majority of burglary victims are being failed by the police, but that may be turning around.
Yes, this is Andy Cook, the new watchdog, former chief constable in his own right, and he's basically saying that to use his own words, in fact, that the state of police work and detection is dire. Something like under 4% of thefts, burglaries, those sort of offences that are detected and lead to people being brought to court. Absolutely appalling numbers of cases of antisocial behaviour are just ignored basically by the police.
Well, the Chief Inspector of Constabulary, who you mentioned there, Andy Cook, says these are not and shouldn't be regarded as minor crimes. They strike at the heart of how safe people feel in their own homes and communities.
Yes, and there's an interesting piece by Peter Hitchens next to it who examines why he thinks this is the case. And he pins the blame back in the 1960s on Roy Jenkins when he was the Home Secretary. And he basically said that he ditched the idea of crime and punishment. If you commit a crime, that the aim of the police is first to prevent crime, secondly to catch criminals who commit those crimes, and then thirdly to have them locked up and dealt with. What happened is he started blaming it all on social problems and giving excuses for it and putting the emphasis on prisons, on rehabilitation rather than punishment. And again, he then goes on to say that Tony Blair, when he became Prime Minister in the late 1990s, effectively tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. He felt he was more interested in the causes of crime than in fact tackling crime. Interesting debate on that issue.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they are linked. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. Exactly.
If you don't tackle either of those problems, then you're living in a lawless society. So,
it's a carrot and stick situation, really.
You know what? I think the front page of this paper actually nails it. A police chief who gets it, who understands what we're all worried about. And it's like 3.7% of burglaries and 4.2% of thefts result in a charge. That's just not good enough.
Yeah, but it's also down to funding. I mean, you can't let the government off the hook with this one. And, you know, if you haven't got the resources, you haven't got the funding, you haven't got the staff, they don't want to investigate these.
No, they don't want to. I get that, Eamonn. But when you've got 4 officers able to go and investigate somebody who posted something online that caused someone anxiety, and they don't come and investigate your burglary, I'm sorry.
So it's a list of priorities.
Priorities.
Yes. But I mean, that's a very, very good point as to what comes
And make
top
them
of the list.
occasionally.
Good.
The social historian Josie Harris said that if the Edwardian standards of dealing with crime were imposed now, the entire youth of Britain would be behind bars. And if in the Edwardian times they used today's standards of crime and punishment, the prisons would be empty.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk about medicines. Dawn, this is the Daily Express front page there, and they're saying fears that patients' lives are at risk because there are just not enough medicines. There is a shortage. Pharmacists know all about this. Now, what is this about? Is this the supply chain? Is this Brexit? What is this?
The short answer is it's a combination of all of the above, including sort of like obviously what's going on in China at the moment, what's going on in Ukraine at the moment. But I mean, this is actually a poll of done by the Pharmacist Journal, which is the in-house journal. They've talked to 1,500 pharmacists, who over half of them say we are facing such a chronic shortage of key medicines that we just cannot help people. People are having to go back to their GPs to get other prescriptions for drugs that may or may not be perfect for them. We all know earlier on this year the problems with HRT. The government then set up a HRT supply task force. No, look, what we don't want a task force. We want actually the problem solved. And all we seem to do these days is spend a lot of time and money talking about problems rather than tackling them. But the list of drugs on this day, Eamonn, is frightening. I mean, prostate cancer drugs, you know? Antipsychotic drugs. These are not drugs that, I mean, no drugs are drugs you can mess around with, obviously, but these are actually serious problems that people are facing. They need help with. And they are just, it's a combination, as you said, Eamonn, quite rightly, of everything. I mean, it's the supply chain issues. It's actually across Europe, it's across the world. It's not just this country. I mean, obviously, Brexit is a part of it, but it's not the whole story.
I think the pandemic was a bigger part.
Yeah,
because that really did interrupt, and people were left at home, and there were issues related
Yeah,
to
well,
that.
we're seeing the monkeypox vaccine in short supply, aren't we? We're seeing epidurals in short supply. It's also apparently antihistamine, migraine treatments, ulcer treatments for mouth ulcers, a certain brand of insulin, a type of inhaler. I mean,
it's a frightening list of drugs, but I think David's right. I mean, you know, so many people during the pandemic didn't bothering their GPs and their hospitals because they were worried to do so because of the pandemic, and now suddenly there's this rush going to the chemist and saying, I need help with this and that, and the supply chain just isn't set up for it at the moment because of all the global issues we've just discussed.
And where it really gets worrying if there's no alternative. If the chemists are saying we haven't got a plan B for this, that is a big thing. If it's affecting you, let us know about that today. GBNews@gbnews.uk. You can tweet us at GBNews.
David, let's talk about the wildfire warning spread really now across the whole of southern England. No surprise as we're heading into the weekend of some forecasts, 38, 37 degrees. This is the front of the Telegraph.
Yes, they've done a page one and a spread inside, a massive risk, exceptional risk, as it says in the headline, warnings from the fire chiefs. An area, as you can see on that map, from Nottinghamshire right down to Sussex, and going out to as far as, I think it's Abergavenny in Wales, right over to the east coast, close to Great Yarmouth. And all that area is in red, is exposed as a risk area. So things are being done, such as precautions, such as banning firework displays, sprinklers, sparklers which are used at weddings, barbecues, and you know, the stores have stopped selling these portable barbecue, these throwaway barbecues, because people might go into the countryside and cause
cigarette butts. Please don't throw any cigarette butts out the window of your car, or if you're on a walk with your dog, just don't do it.
There's even a chance if you've got a catalytic converter on a car and you drive over a grassy area in the countryside, that could create sparks, which cause.
You're lucky if you have a catalytic converter in a car, because that's another great one for these thieves that nobody catches. They love a bit of catalytic converting going on. They hike your car up.
Very good point. Yeah.
Yes, very true. I think also, Dawn, that maybe in the future it'll lead to the way house planning permission is actually given. It used to be a nice thing to be surrounded by trees, and deciduous trees and things are all very nice. We're surrounded by scaldy, scabby, dried out conifers. And I go not from our garden, but from a neighbour's garden, and I thought, if they go up, your house goes with it.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, talking about the planning permission, the other issue with this is like when we do have winter and it starts raining heavily again, we're obviously going to have the floods. It's like building houses on floodplains, and then we're surprised when they flood.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, your point about the dried conditions is you hope people would use common sense. You hope people wouldn't start a barbecue. And I was watching a news report on a channel that may remain nameless the other day, where they're saying, look how dry these conditions are, and they demonstrated how dry the conditions were by setting fire to a piece of grass. Kids, just in case you weren't aware of how this happened, this is how it happens. It's insane.
A lot of kids are involved in thinking that's fun as well.
But just, you know, it wasn't that long ago, a few weeks back, where was it the Essex North London border? A whole terrace of houses went up in flames. People evacuated from the whole village because they were backing onto grassland, and there was a wildfire.
And there was a compost.
In my lifetime, I can't remember wildfires.
But that was a compost heap that triggered that as well, Isabel, which is sort of like, it was literally self-combustion. No one set fire to anything, it just happened. So
miracle no one was killed in that.
Okay, let's continue the happy news. As we go to the front page of the Daily Star, David, what are they reporting on?
This is Dawn.
This is Dawn.
Oh, Dawn, sorry.
you can identify as me if you want, David. I don't mind this morning. Yeah, this is the Daily Star, and they have done Night of the Living Dread by zombieing up our current leader and our potential leaders. But it's an interview with money guru Martin Lewis, who's warned that the zombie government faces a national crisis over energy bills. And, everything he's saying is quite right. I mean, we are all worried about paying our bills, if you've been discussing already on the show. Energy prices are going up, forecast to hit over £4,000. Energy cap is going up every 2 months, so therefore it's not a cap, it's just almost like a limit, isn't it? That's a statute. But I mean, the problem I have with Martin at the moment, and I agree with everything he's saying, is he used to be the voice of reason and offering support and advice to people that were worried. And now all I'm getting from him is people, he's making people more worried.
Yeah, but Dawn, I heard him talking about this, and he said that he made his name and his career based on giving people money-saving tips.
Yes.
He says it's gone well beyond money-saving tips. Nothing that he is able to come up with is being able to save a few quid so that you can spend elsewhere. But this is about being able to stay on the breadline.
No, absolutely. I completely get what he's saying, but the language he's using, as Eamonn quite rightly said, every page one today, it's like, it is doom and gloom. And I just feel like, if he was a bit more, not supportive even, but a bit more
boosterism. That's what our politicians do. I mean, surely he's almost become the voice of. He's built up a reputation. People trust him. That's what we're hearing, isn't it? And he's even offered his services to draw up plans to whoever takes over, which I understand the Treasury are now, or I think Simon Clarke, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, is drawing up plans for whoever takes over, which at least makes you think, thank goodness, something's actually being considered. What's the wait?
This morning, it's like, just get on with it.
But you see, that's where I suppose Martin Lewis cuts through here, because he just says what needs to be done. The problem with government is it's the system and it's the process, and it's, as you just said earlier, inquiries into this, that, and whatever, and just how long it takes to actually get something done. And the thing is, David, the impression that we have people running government, running local councils and whatever, that just are not in touch with their electorate, that just are not in touch with real life.
That's true. I mean, this is one of the criticisms Rishi Sunak's having to bat off at the moment, is that, he's not one of us. And they live in a bubble, some of these politicians. I mean, not all of them. Some of them are very well connected with their constituents. But, there is that perception that politicians don't get it because they don't have to put up with what...
It was interesting when I described Martin Lewis as sort of acting up and becoming the opposition. We haven't heard anything from Labour really on this, but Gordon Brown has almost been taking the role of Sir Keir Starmer, and he made this quote. It's on the front of the Guardian this morning: "Time and tide wait for no one. Neither do crises. They don't take holidays, and they don't politely hang fire. Certainly not to suit the convenience of a departing PM and the whims of two potential successors." And it does feel now like this leadership contest is a bit self-indulgent, isn't it?
Well, yes. I have to say, I've heard a lot of people say this.
Yeah, you don't agree?
Well, I do agree with you, but everybody was saying this months ago when the Labour Party in particular, and some critics of Boris within his own party, and some sections of the media were going hammer and tongs after Boris Johnson, and people said, the last thing we want is the distraction of a beauty contest which would drag on for weeks. At the moment we've got war in Ukraine, we've got a cost of living crisis and energy bills rocketing. Let's leave Boris where he is and decide about this at a later time. And of course now Keir Starmer and his team have got what they wanted. They've removed Boris Johnson. You hear some of them saying, well, this is a distraction from what's going on. Why can't we get on with it? Well, they brought this about, and if they had shorter. Well, maybe, but there's a democratic process to go through. But if we had a general election, which some sections are calling for as well, it would be even worse.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's got to go through a process.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with Doris from Bristol, whatever her name was on this one.
We don't have
another one. Oh my God! I remember.
Not rule it out.
That was so funny. Oh dear.
Okay, so we're talking about the Daily Mail now, David. This issue: illegal weapons sold online in Britain.
Yes, this is a shocker. eBay, another of these sales, which study by the consumer magazine, which has looked at the sales of these knives. You can buy them, zombie knives and knuckle dusters and swords, for as little as 49p online. If these got into the hands of criminals, the results could be absolutely catastrophic.
Whose hands are they supposed to get into that are safe?
Allegedly.
So people collect knuckle dusters, right? What do they do? Hang them in a frame or something on the wall? I mean, it's flick knives.
Exactly.
I really, when I see these things, they're going to have to tighten up the rules. Why are they being sold in the first place? Why would you want a knuckle duster except to smash somebody's face in?
Well, exactly. It's beyond belief that there's, we've got a knife crime epidemic in this country. I think 41,000 cases, and there were about 30 teenagers killed last year. And the government have been constantly cracking down on this. And yet we now found out, while shops are banned from doing it, again, the internet is the one where you can just go out and get what you want. Now, yeah, there may be some connectors of ceremonial swords and so forth, but as you rightly say, Eamonn, a knuckle duster or a zombie knife, which has got jagged edges, which is only meant to cause fatal injuries, should not be available.
Oh, but you can even get a meal deal on them as well. Something called a karambit blade, which is a curved knife, right? Some sort of oriental curved knife to slash you up with. But you can get that with a paralysing spray in a combo deal for just $13.99.
Yeah. And this is not big money. It's not as if like buying a firearm, we'd have to spend a lot of money and go through all sorts of hoops to buy this thing.
You see, this is the sort of thing I say, why are we even talking about this? If I was in government somewhere, if I was in the civil service now, whatever, I'd be coming in today and I'd be saying, right, sort this out, have this banned by the end of the week.
Yeah,
right, get that. Exactly. What on earth stops us? And also, Amazon, eBay, whoever the heck you are, I mean, take a look in the mirror. Why the heck are you selling this in the first place for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Dawn Neeson, Sun, page 3, so-called woke warriors. What are they after now?
I found the fun story.
We need it.
Credit for that one. Yeah, it's basically, this is a roundabout in Leicester that is being called the Pork Pie Island since the 1930s. It's named after a library that's next to it. It looks like a pork pie, funny enough. And this is PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, want to rename it Vegan Pie Roundabout because because vegans are upset. Come on, it's fun. It's interesting. I mean,
it's just vegans are upset. It's people who wake up in the morning, here on this Thursday morning, this beautiful sunny Thursday morning, and they wake up and they switch on the telly or the radio or they open up their computer and they say, I want to be upset. I want to be annoyed. I want to find something to complain about. Let's complain about a roundabout in Leicestershire called Pork Pie
Island.
Pork Pie Island. And let's rename it what?
Vegan Pie Island.
Oh, just...
But do you know what? The Sun's headline is just magic. Pride and Prejudice.
That's right, isn't it?
They nailed that. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, there's other stories that I'd love to talk about next time around. I want to talk about this beautiful young girl, Sarah Salmon, who was killed in that gas explosion early in the week on Monday, and just a beautiful, beautiful looking child. And how on earth did that happen? How did that happen? We want to know about that. And also Jerry Hall, right?
Story.
Mystery as Jerry Hall withdraws her divorce papers against Rupert.
Is it back on? They're back together?
Yeah.
Well, they're not.
We will have more on that one later.
Will we?
We have the inside gossip.
Okay, well, we will be tuning in up home. Make sure you tune in for that at 7:30, 7:35, something.
But I know what you were adhering to. You were talking
the
about
pie
the
story
pie
about the
story.
tooth.
What did I?
I don't know which paper that was in.
Neither do I. I've
Sun,
forgotten.
page 3.
What?
Sun, page 3.
No, not the Pride and Prejudice one.
Oh, no.
It was a column.
Basically, there was a man who was tucking into a Fray Bentos pie, and he bit down hard, and there was a molar tooth. Well, I would like to think, I mean, obviously Fray Bento said we will investigate, but I'd like to think it wasn't a tooth, that it was just a big bit of bone or something as part of the...
Do you think that, Eamonn? Yeah. Just if you're having breakfast right now.
Yes. But you just, I mean, what's the worst thing you've ever found in food?
I've definitely had a couple of caterpillars in a bag of lettuce.
A couple of what?
Caterpillars, over the years.
Hairs.
Yeah, flickering around.
Not just hairs.
Hairs.
You know, those hairs.
The hairs that you definitely know.
Yes, that shouldn't be on your head.
No.
Oh my good grief, Eamonn.
All of
Got
those.
to 7:49.
What's that in? What's in?
A sandwich.
Oh!
Just make someone must have scratched themselves and then put the mayonnaise on.
Okay, right, okie doke.
Enjoy that breakfast.
guys, in 40 minutes time, we're going to bring you up